Remember, please hit like and subscribe for me. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go. Hi, everyone. Today's Monday, August the 25th. My name is Anne Marie Band, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. Let's take a look at what's going on with the ES. If you did watch my market kickoff, I talked a little bit about the big rotations and what we are seeing from topping formations with mild technical divergence. So this fade here is not surprising. Also, if you did watch market kickoff, you know I said that the support zone would be the close of the 10 a.m. candlestick formation, and that would give us our first bounce. It actually did. Notice the close of that candlestick. It gave us the first bounce, but it did not get to the top of the box. So what we are staring down now is a potential rotation into deeper supports as long as we do not recover 6,471. Okay, so that's really what we're staring down. We're going to have these bounce formations that send us into the edge. The opening candlestick on this 30-minute, really big, but as soon as it came into the prior highs, it gapped down. To me, this does smack of rotation to fill in this volume profile event. Just my thought, but would not be surprised if we came into 6,430. Let's talk a little bit about the volume anomalies that we might see. This is a very big volume anomaly here from the Fed speech. Again, I think it's because the traders were caught flat-footed. I think his note was neutral in terms of whether we will raise rates or we won't. So to me, this was kind of just a reflexive intraday motion trying to collect alpha, I would imagine. In general, I would believe that this would be what I am staring down. So ultimately, I do think that that presents a support zone. So here's the thing. From a bullish perspective, the recapture of 64.71 won't just do the trick. We have to hold 64.71 and then breach 64.81 before we even get to the top of the box. So we could be rangy today, but I see quite a bit of negative drift. Momentum is steeply negative, so I would say reversion, but we're going to have thin volume because London markets are closed today because of a bank holiday, and we literally have just this one pocket of stop running all the way down to that 6,430. On August the 20th, we had a test of 6,428 that took us all the way down to 6,387. That probably is the key support zone to watch. All right, so it would be this area here at 6,428, 6,424, right? Value area high, 6,417. Value area low, what is that number? Hang on. 6,374. So that's 100 points lower from the break here. That's crazy. We have had quite the move, folks. That volume point of control sitting right in the pocket of all of that noise at 6,388. Going to be interesting, but I do suspect a pretty solid fade if trend continues to rotate on this tighter moving average and momentum moves down. I know it freaks a lot of traders out when I change these moving averages, but I do want to tell you something. Listen, it doesn't matter what the moving average is. I know you might think it does, but it doesn't. It doesn't. Everything's relative to the time frame you're trading, how long you want to hold the trade for, what your thoughts are about movement, and then you use a moving average that's adapted to that. That's all. No magic bullets here, none whatsoever, okay? It is about you finding your rhythm, your space in the market. I'm just showing you what I do, okay? So that's all there is to that one. I just want you to realize that there is no have to. There is no, and I know that doesn't make sense to your brain, because surely there's got to be a have to. But if you think about, and I love bringing this back to sports, if you think about all the most fantastic pitchers, right? Whether they're king of the knuckleball, king of the curve, king of the slider, king of the fastball, whatever it is, or you look at professional football players that end up being the quarterback, right? Everybody has their own rhythm. Trading is the same way. So just relax on the have-tos and the need-tos and the musts. And this is about you finding your rhythm on your time frame and being comfortable with the design that works for you. So experiment, okay? And be comfortable with that. All right, I'm finished. I'm off the soapbox. Let's take a look at the NQ. Same sort of thing, a little more jagged. Take a look at the close here. This immediately broke, so I find this to be quite fascinating. The close of the 10 a.m. candlestick tried to be support, immediately gave us a lower high. Ding, 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 ding. Right? High, lower high, lower high, lower high. At the same time, it was making higher lows. So what that always tells you in this kind of cross current, that when you break, you are very likely to have a retest. So don't go chasing waterfalls or whatever, right? But that actually works here. So here's the next thing. It breaks down, pops up, gives us another shot at going short. That number is round and about 23,550. Why do I say round and about? It's kind of squishy here. Traders are trying to force price up and through. So if it happens to recapture 23,550, it's got to get through 23,571 in order for it to rotate. Right now, trend is down, momentum is down. We've got higher volume than normal, and the London markets are closed. I find that to be very interesting. We've had some volume anomalies in, let's see where the prices are. 23,585. That's a big spike into resistance. That's way up here, right? And now that area it's starting to look like exhaustion. It really is. So that to me is pretty interesting, okay? So what's the storyboard? Well, if we fill the gap, it brings us down to 23,350. What should we see here? Trend down, trend up for the bigger moving average, trend down for the smaller moving average, and the VWAP all the way at 23,368. Could we test that? Absolutely. Will the cross current bring a potential bounce action here? Yeah, potentially. This momentum is very steep, so I do expect the bounces. What do you want to bounce to? Old support that became resistance. Now here's the next line. So 23,510 to me looks like the next intraday short, right? Top of the box. See, here's the box of trades. They stayed there literally for most of this candlestick, 1, 2.5 hours. And then they broke. Now we're looking at our second hour. The bounce is going to give us sell zone events. Okay? So that being said, the opening range short, 23,507. And then the rotation that could make you pop out. I would take a target, right? Let's see if a 15-minute candlestick, even a 5-minute candlestick, all of this shows as relative motion that just rockets through the price. What we can see over here to the left, oh, this is perfect. Perfect. See this heavy congestion? This box of inventory that collapsed? Holy smokes. That's probably going to be the first target event for you on the short from 507. That's my thought. 23,430 based on prior resistance. Okay? All right. Let's use these 3 days because they're very noisy. Yeah, that's what I'm staring down. Bearish price action, technically speaking, doesn't really, I mean, we got to wait all the way down here. So all of these bearish action formations are into support that will give us a bounce. Notice this rounding bottom. It's my thought that this was some kind of crazy anomaly. You know, I think it was a daytime hedging event, but I could be wrong, all right? But I do think this was a daytime hedging event. All right, we got our moves. Hey, listen, if we move above 23,571, we'll retest 23,622. If, per happenstance, we break out to the north, it could be another short squeeze, because that's what I think this was. So we do want to be careful here. We absolutely want to be careful. Upper edges on my wave extension point all the way up to 23,879. Let's take a look at the YN. Okay. Same sort of thing. Here is the candlestick close from the Powell perspective. So what do I think? I think the traders are going to try and bounce there, right? That seems legitimate because that's what they did with the Qs. They came into the bounce of the primary candlestick formation and they bounced off of it into what? Yeah, another lower high. So what is that area? And if they try to bounce prematurely, they are going to fall probably. Here's 45,672, right? So it's about 60 points or so, right? This trend is very down, very, very, very down. My thought would be here, not really a great buy zone unless you're going to scalp. If you're going to scalp, then you can see the bounce. It can go potentially into 45,612 and then give you another reversal down. What is the trend of this moving average? It's flat, but we are under it, right? They're going to try and recover it. This is a bullish formation, and traders have been afforded the luxury of dip buying every single time. But this momentum is very steep, and so it tells us our bounces are going to find sellers. They are going to find sellers. So if it bounces prematurely from this line here at 45,579 and it moves to 45,672, we're going to see probably a break below this 45,579 into this volume pocket. And that's what they're staring down. Low edge, the VWAP outside of the trading range. That's very interesting. It's very, very interesting. We've seen it with all the charts here today. 45,171, value area high, 45,100-ish. The point of control, 44,988, and value area low, 44,720. Anne-Marie, do you think the whole day is bearish? No, I don't know what the day's going to bring. I would imagine that we get caught in some kind of slosh that tries to build a new volume shelf up above. But I don't know. I really don't know. Honestly, I have no idea. What I am going to do is wait for my resistance zones, give it a short, a try, and then when it comes into support, I'm going to take some profit because I cannot see conclusive rhythm about direction. And it should firm up later in the day, but it could be noisy. It really could be. Let's take a look at micro Bitcoin. This is doing exactly what I thought it would. right? Just a savage move to the downside. This is still liquidity leaving the room. This is something super important for us to realize. Bitcoin is a measure of active liquidity in the market, and it is leaving the room. Okay? So we had this big candlestick 4-hour formation on Friday, now well below it. Old resistance that became support, that gave us this big formation, and now it's retesting as support. Don't you think the trader's going to try and buy there? Yes. What's the takeaway? Don't short it here at 111,225 and leave the room, right? If it shorts here, if there's a short sitting here, what the traders will try to do is flush out the weak hands in the space and then turn around and try to bounce. So watch for something here to happen. This area anywhere between 111,000 and 110,250. That's certainly what I would be looking at. All right. If we go to the 30-minute chart, right, we can see the Powell move also with everyone. Very, very big move. We broke that edge and are now trading lower. Do you see the traders trying to come in here? They're going to try and do that, right? Steep momentum has begun to flatten. So they are selling off, but with not as much pressure. Bounces are still very likely to be sell zones. What are those? 112,000. 30-minute low of the opening candlestick formation. 112,700. We've got this very wide, gappy mess, but bounces clearly sell zones in this formation. We could have ourselves a pretty good sized bounce, but we're going to bring sellers in no matter what, right? This is in liquidation, or as they say, distribution, right? They're moving from one hand to the next, rotating out of the space. So if we stare down the price action over the last, what do we want, 3 days? Yeah, that gives us enough of a rotation. We can see that we are outside of the volume area and underneath the point of control. Let them find the support, right? If you're looking for a short, you know that this is likely not to be the area because the broad price action shows buyers down here. Wait for it to bounce and try to get above the value area low. That's about 112,200. And then think about setting up the short. Let's take a look at oil. Oil is in a breakaway pattern, right? We talked about this area last night, getting up into this zone. I would not be afraid to short it here, right? Somewhere around 64.20 with a test of 63.87 as the first target. Definitely I would not go any monster size here, right? It's $10 a penny. And so that's very important for us to consider. Value area high is that number at around $63.80. The VWAP, 63.50. These are all very solid support zones. Very, very solid support zones. It is a London holiday, and so we should have less volume. It's a bank holiday anyway. We should have less volume rotating up and down. But we shall see, right? This is just one of those places where anything can happen. And if it breaks through this area, here's how you look for a setup. Let me show you something. Let's say you want to short here. Immediately collapse into your very tightest time frame and look for trend, right? So I'm thinking, hey, this might be a pretty good short right here. So my moving average says up. So any dips are going to be buy zones. Same here. And momentum is cresting. So this is a sticky bit. If you go, hey, I'm going to go short here, It might be a great trade, but your stop better be tight. Better be tight. Make it tight. You're in fine shape. But if you loosen that stop, you could really be caught, right? So my thought is wait for the rotation to actually tell you that you are in a short formation. So collapse right into that 1 minute and go, all right, I'm looking for the setup that takes me in reverse. Now, somebody like Ruby Slippers will trade in a direction based on her 1 minute time frames going from support to resistance. That also is super. I just don't go that fast. I'm a bit of a slowpoke. But that's how you would trade that. Okay? GCZ. Let's take a look at gold. Not a lot of movement in gold. All right, let's go to, whoops. It reset my system because we had a recap. All right, here is gold. Sitting around this opening range for the entire day so far. So let's go to the 30 minute. Here is the Powell presser candlestick event. Right, dancing around there. So that is a leaky bottom, as it were. That's penetrating there is not ideal for buyers. So we want to watch this. Also a very sticky support / resistance zone, right? Might have to put it in the middle. So far, 3,406 to 3,409. That's a pretty wide stop range, but we can see what's going on. We can see definitively if we lose 3,405, we're probably going to go to the bottom of this volume formation, right? We have a low volume pocket at 3,400, moving averages nearby there. That might give us the first bounce, but momentum is telling us that if we take a long, we better take it off at resistance, okay? Because momentum is drifting down, and that pressure event says it's going to be range bound. Sideways moving average also tells me we're range bound. So if you're looking for a big move, consider the break above 3,416 or below 3,405 and realize that the cross current could still make things really quite sticky. Lastly, we'll take a look at SPY. All right, let's go to the 4-hour formations here. This is the Powell note. Now, I've drawn two Fibonacci's, one on the daily and one on the big volume range that we've had, right? This is our large volume candle from prior days. So what we want to stare down is how well it holds above those ranges. But if I just move those over, and let's say we remove all the fibs, what we're staring down is negative divergence. See the topping way up here and then the topping way down here, right? Negative divergence, loss of that high candlestick event almost immediately, no follow through on that candle. Yeah, I do think that we move back into the 641 area. Not a bad zone to take a look. Value area high, $637.84. Point of control, $635.48. And the VWAP all the way down at $629.70. So, Anne-Marie, you've been kind of bearish. Not really. I'm just saying dips into support are very likely where buyers have a shot to move forward. That's all. That's absolutely all. So what do you want to do? Set an alert for a rise above this area, right? Which I like. Create an alert at this line. We're going to make the sensitivity very tight. We're just going to watch for it, right? We want it to break through. Okay. If it gets above that zone, we're going to have price action that continues to the north. Could it come Absolutely. Absolutely. Dips are buys in this formation across the board. Dips are buys. Some of the dips are deeper, but they're still buys. The question is, if you're trading a swing trading event, can you make sure your size is small enough that the dips, when they do come, you're going to be able to stay in the trade, right? And that's for us who hold longer term positions. All right, everyone, that's it. I'll see you on the streams.